Welcome to Warhammer 40k lore in the Bible, where I pull from Warhammer 40k lore to help explain biblical lore. And I'm bringing back my React series. If you don't know, I also do Warhammer 40k lore in the Bible series, both short format and long. But I also did reactions, but I'm bringing those back, at least the TikTok ones anyways guys, so we're going to be looking at Nurgle and these poxwalkers and stuff like that. And what I do is I use Warhammer 40k lore to help explain biblical lore. That's basically it. And I'll bring in scriptures that are pretty close to the Warhammer 40k lore. But anyways, let's go ahead and get this started.
Nurgle, the god of plague and disease, had his eyes on the realm of Ultramar for many years, wanting to add these planets to his ever-growing gardens of disease. As the Indomitus Crusade came to an end, his followers would launch many raids to weaken Ultramar and claim its worlds for the Plague Father. The Death Guard, led by the demon Primarch Mortarion, played a central role in the invasion. Mortarion, supported by...
Gotta love AI, man. Gotta love it.
...by his first Captain Typhus and the demon Kugath, commanded a vast force of corrupted space marines, cultists, and demons.
Okay. Now, Nurgle is in the Bible, but it's spelled N-E-R-G-A-L. So, 2 Kings. And the men of Babylon made Succoth-Benoth, and the men of Cuth made Nurgle, and the men of Hamath made Ashima. So, who is this Nurgle? Oops, wrong button. Nurgle. He was the god of pestilence, disease, and various calamities, who could be appeased by incantations. He was worshipped with the consort Ereshkigal at cult center of Cutha, northeast of Babylon. So there you go. This is probably where Games Workshop got Nurgle from. Anyways, not necessarily from the Bible, but from the god, the mythos of the god himself.
He struck Ultramar's smaller, poorly defended worlds first, with Mortarion attempting to goad the Ultramarines' leader, Roboute Guilliman, into battle. The Death Guard spread death and decay across the region, while Typhus targeted Ultramar's outer defenses, destroying key star forts and shipping lanes. As demons manifested on Iax, the conflict escalated, becoming known as the Plague Wars. Guilliman, freshly returned from the Indomitus Crusade, arrived to defend Ultramar. His first victory came on Artium, where he cleansed the planet of Death Guard forces and destroyed a plague engine that was raising the dead.
So, I'm going to bring this up in the next TikTok that we listen to, but I want to give you a little taste. So we have the Rephaim, right? So Strong's, we hear about the Rephaim. Gog was a Rephaim. Well, it says giants of the giants, but that word is Rephaim. So let's go to the other one here, the start of it. So Rapha, a giant. Oh, by the way, guys. So you know what I'm talking about if you don't. Genesis 6 talks about how the sons of God, which are angels, came down, mated with women, and produced giants. You can go read it yourself there. It's in Genesis 6. And then it also explains why the Israelites were afraid to go into Israel. Right? So, because it says that the sons of the Anak, the giants, were there. And they were like grasshoppers in their sights. So the Bible has its 10-foot, giant men as well, right? Because we see here in Genesis 6, it talks about how they were men of old, men of renown. So, very interesting. Oh, Rephaim means to heal, to mend, and it also means invigorating a giant. The undead. But we'll get more into that on the next TikTok.
This marked the beginning of a series of counterattacks against Nurgle's forces. Mortarion, however, sought to trap Guilliman on Macragge and launched the invasion of Konar as part of his broader strategy. While Mortarion managed to corrupt some worlds in the Konar system, the Imperium successfully defended key planets, preventing a full-scale
for the Emperor
assault on Macragge. Guilliman and his allies, including Ultramarine successor chapters, gradually turned the tide, culminating in the Spear of Espandor counterattack. They cut off Mortarian's forces from their base in the Scourge Stars and destroyed the plague engines that were raising undead armies across the system.
I want to get into it now. You know what? I will. I will get a little bit into this. So, Zechariah 12. We'll start with verse 11. And men shall dwell in it, and there shall be no more utter destruction, but Jerusalem shall be safely inhabited. And this shall be the plague wherewith the Lord will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. And it shall come to pass in that day that a great tumult, which means like a very loud, like a riot type thing, a crowd, a lot of noise, right, is basically what that means, from the Lord shall be among them. And they shall lay hold every one on the hand of his neighbor, and his hand shall rise up against the hand of his neighbor. And Judah shall also fight at Jerusalem, and the wealth of all the heathen round about shall be gathered together, gold, silver, and apparel in great abundance. And shall the plague of the horse, of the mule, of the camel, and of the ass, and all the beasts shall be in these tents as this plague. Very interesting. But it gets even more interesting. I'll say that.
With his supply lines severed and reinforcements dwindling, Mortarion shifted his focus to Parmenio, where the largest armored and titan battle of the war took place. Guilliman's forces clashed with Kugath's demonic legions on the plains of Hecatone, while in space, the Plague Fleet attacked the star fort Galatan. Despite heavy losses, Guilliman's forces made gains, and the Ultramarines struck a blow by slaying Kugath's lieutenant and routing Chaos forces from the planet. Mortarion and Kugath attempted to lure Guilliman into a deadly trap, intending to kill the Primarch using a disease known as the Godblight, hoping to turn Ultramar into a new garden of corruption. Guilliman, aware of the danger, led a massive invasion force to Ix, engaging both Nurgle's demons and the Death Guard. As the two Primarchs clashed in a brutal duel, Guilliman was nearly killed by Mortarion, who infected him with the Godblight.
Yeah. I better stop, or else I'm not going to have any more content to do it, but it gets very interesting, I'll just say that. I also got to stop it, for copyright reasons, but anyways. Oh, by the way, this is Holy Terra. Forgot to say. My bad.
However, Guilliman was miraculously revived, channeling the power of the Emperor himself. Empowered by divine energy, he struck a grievous blow to Nurgle's forces and forced Mortarion to retreat. Meanwhile, Space Marine forces destroyed Kugath's Cauldron of Nurgle.
In the Bible, Samson kind of has this experience, right? Where he does the, oh my goodness, the Nazarite vow. Anyways, he does the Nazarite vow, right? And he has the power of God as long as he, basically obeys God, right? And he has that power of God, and he's going up against giants, right? See, people don't realize that this man was going up against, let's say, Goliath. He was 13 feet tall. He had 5 brothers who were either taller or as tall as him. He was going up against the Philistines, right? So, very cool stuff.
Which had been powering the Chaos forces in the sector. With their leaders defeated and their forces in disarray, Nurgle's invasion collapsed, and the Imperium enacted Exterminatus on IAX, wiping out any lingering corruption. In the aftermath, Guilliman oversaw the rebuilding of Ultramar and implemented new protocols to increase the production of Primaris Space Marines. Though the Plague Wars had ended, the Ultramarines would soon launch the Vengeance campaigns, liberating star systems that had fallen to Nurgle's forces early in the war. Nurgle, meanwhile, suffered a significant setback, with Mortarion and Kugath falling out of favor for defying their god's orders to withdraw. Nurgle, the god of
So real quick, before we get into the next one, I want to talk about this Day of the Lord. So the great day of the Lord is near. This is for exterminatus, basically. It is near, and hasteth greatly, even the voice of the day of the Lord. The mighty man shall cry there bitterly. The day is a day of wrath, a day of trouble and distress, a day of wasteness and desolation, a day of darkness and gloominess, a day of clouds and thick darkness, a day of the trumpet and alarm against the fenced cities and against the high towers. Very interesting. And I will bring distress upon men, that they shall walk like blind men, because they have sinned against the Lord, and their blood shall be poured out as dust, and their flesh as the dung. So, an exterminatus level event is happening there, right? But anyways, and by the way, the day of the Lord is not the rapture, okay? It is not. I know people say that. It is not. That does not sound, like a good day, right? But anyways, let's move on to the next one. And we're going to use Warhammer. And we're going to talk about the poxwalkers and all that. Hold on. Why does it always do this? Sorry about that, guys. Okay.
What would be truly horrifying? If you got turned into a diseased and shambling zombie, but your mind was fully intact. That you no longer have any control over your own body or your actions. And you were...
So I wanted him to say that because it's going to bring this up. Revelation 9:6. And in those days shall men seek death, and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them. Very interesting, but we'll
forced to watch as you turn on your friends and family. That's exactly what the dreaded disease, the walking pox, does. It's one of the horrific diseases that the Death Guard utilize in war. Once contracted, the victim will slowly begin to rot away while they're still alive. Eventually, the disease will kill them. Problem is, it's not just a disease of the body, but of the soul. The walking pox kills the victim's body but leaves their mind intact. They are trapped in this rotting frame forever and forced to witness the...
Okay. So Jeremiah 19:9. And I will cause them to eat the flesh of their sons and the flesh of their daughters, and they shall eat every... Oh, hold on. Let me bring up the whole chapter. Sorry about that. Okay. And I will make this city desolate, and in hissing, everyone that passeth thereby shall be astonished, and hiss, because of all the plagues thereof. And I will cause them to eat the flesh of their sons, and the flesh of their daughters, and they shall eat every one the flesh of his friend in this siege, and straightness, wherewith their enemies, and they that seek their lives shall straiten them. Then shalt thou break the bottle in the sight of the men that go with thee. Shall say unto them, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, even so I will break this people in this city, as one breaketh the potter's vessel. They cannot be made whole again. And they shall bury them in Tophet, till there be no place to bury. Thus will I do this place, saith the Lord, and the inhabitants thereof, even make this city as Tophet. And the houses of Jerusalem and the houses of the king of Judah shall be defiled, as this place of Tophet, because of all these houses upon whose roofs they were burned incense unto the host of heaven, and they poured out drink offerings unto other gods. Very interesting. Anyways.
The atrocities of the Death Guard firsthand. The victim becomes what is known as a poxwalker. The Death Guard use these creatures as shock troops. They'll send thousands of them out on the front lines to overwhelm and devastate the enemy before the Plague Marines move in for the kill. Because it's a disease of the soul and not just the body, the mindless cacophony of thousands of these things shambling around is actually enough to infect you. That an outbreak can occur even within fortified positions. What would be truly horrifying? If you got turned into a disease...
Whoa, sorry about that. All right, we'll do one more here. We'll do the Plague Marines, and this is Bomani. Why does he keep doing that? I'm sorry, guys.
So, y'all remember how it took a fairly decent amount of damage to take down those Rubik Marines, right? Now, imagine if you had to deal with a force that needed almost double the amount of damage to down them, maybe even more. Well, meet the Plague Marines. Plague Marines are a unit within the ranks of one of my all-time favorite armies, the Death Guard. They are a Chaos Space Marine Legion that have pledged their souls to good old Grandpappy Nurgle, the Chaos God of disease, decay, and entropy. Due to the gift-giving that Nurgle is known for, the bodies of these Marines have been altered to be nearly indestructible. However, their bodies are also disfigured and in a constant state of decay, rot, and bloated with diseases.
And it hangs out like grapes, like a vine of grapes. Oh man, that'd be terrible. But when you're in Nurgle's embrace, I guess you don't really feel it that much. Which you do, but you're happy about it, right? But anyways.
Now, as of how the Death Guard Legion wanted to pleasure themselves in Nurgle, I'll be explaining in another video along with this guy. Now, because they're consistently in this state, Plague Marines don't feel any pain and they're extremely resistant to most forms of damage. In fact, Nurgle has made it so that through his gifts, feeling pain is no longer a factor amongst his followers, and that the only thing
I just hope none of this music is copyright.
They need to feel is despair. There's no need for other emotions in the presence of Nurgle. These Marines use weapons filled with horrific and deadly maladies and favor the use of massive amounts of infantry to grind down their enemies, all with the goal to please Nurgle and spread death, disease, and suffering. Wouldn't fighting them be great? So, y'all.
Alright, guys. So we're going to end it there, guys. I want to thank everybody for watching this video and who's been supporting my channel and all that. You guys are awesome. And if you're looking for energy, jitterless energy drink, check out Dubby. It'll be, I have a discount link in the description. And every time you use that, you'll be helping out the channel as well. Thank you guys, and you guys have a wonderful day.